My name is Tripp Jones, and I'm here today in my capacity as chairman of the campaign to protect the affordable housing law. We're very grateful for all of you taking the time to join us. Today is our official launch of the campaign. As many of you know, we are facing the prospect of having the Chapter 40B put before the voters this fall in a ballot question, raising an issue about whether we ought to repeal that law. This campaign has organized to fight that repeal, and we've got a very broad coalition of people that are a part of our efforts. I want to thank everybody for taking the time to come out today. Let me start just quickly. We've got a long list of people who are going to speak, so we've got to move fast. But let me just quickly tell you a little bit about who we are. The campaign to protect the affordable housing law is made up of a couple hundred plus people at this point, representing dozens of organizations from across the state that represent literally hundreds of thousands of residents of Massachusetts in every part of our Commonwealth. The coalition is made up of groups, individuals representing groups from business organizations, environmental groups, senior groups, civil rights organizations, and environmental groups, academic representatives. It's as broad and diverse a coalition as we could possibly have represented. It's important for people to understand that it is a bipartisan, or as some would say, tripartisan effort at this point. We've got all three leading gubernatorial candidates that are supporting our position in opposition of the repeal of Chapter 40B. The governor, Charlie Baker, and Tim Cahill. We've got a wide and very diverse group of people from across the political spectrum in various elected and appointed roles across the state that support our position as well. I want to talk just a couple of minutes about some key facts that we are constantly trying to remind people of. I've been, over the last couple of months, traveling across the state talking to a number of different people. When you lay out the story about what this law has done, people have an incredibly positive response. Just in the spirit of time, two key facts. Since the inception of this law, 58,000 homes, condominiums, apartments have been built, helping to provide affordable housing for our seniors and working families. And the fact that is most impressive and affects me the most is if you think about the last decade, and you think about how hard it has been to build affordable housing in this state, the challenges we face, approximately 80% of all the affordable housing that's been built in our population centers outside of the cities, the major cities, across this state, is directly attributable to Chapter 40B. So this law has had a profound effect on our communities. The people who live in these homes work in all of our communities, doing all sorts of things: construction, social work, teaching, all kinds of critically important roles in our Commonwealth. And we intend to spend much of the next 4, 5, 6 months doing everything we can to educate the public, the voters, and opinion leaders across this state about these phases of 40B, the accomplishments of this law, and how important it's been to the health of our community, what it means to our seniors and our working families all across Massachusetts. I want to, at this point, turn the microphones over to a couple of our representatives of those families living in these affordable homes so that they can talk with you a little bit about their experiences and what this means to them. And to start, I'll turn it over, and each of them can talk to you about who they are and their experiences. Turn it over to Sharon Pastor. And thank you, Sharon, for joining us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Good morning. My name is Sharon Pastor. I have 2 children who are in college. My husband's a long-distance truck driver, and I'm a sales clerk. We lived in an apartment for 20 years. We could never afford a house. We just couldn't come up with the combined salaries that we could afford a down payment or a closing cost. We wanted to live a good life of good morals. We brought up our own children. We worked opposite shifts so that we could do that. My son's graduating from college this year. After the 20 years of living in an apartment, we were burned out. The little girl on the first floor had left her bicycle and tipped gasoline on a hot water heater. We lived with my sister for 2 months and didn't know where to go. At that point, we had remembered that 3 years prior to that, we had applied for affordable housing. We looked around, and finally I said to my husband, we need to give them a phone call and find out if we're on that list somewhere. It was 3 years. We didn't know where to go. Garages were looking good to us. And we just wanted to keep our life as constant as possible. At that point, I was living at my sister's house, and I said, I'll call the woman at 9:30 from Delphic Associates. 9:15, the phone rang. They had to call from my house to my sister's house. And then I answered the phone, and they said, Sharon Pastor? I said, yes. She said, this is Delphic Associates. I said, oh, you heard about the fire? She said, what fire? She said, I'm just calling you to let you know that you'll be closing on a house this December. It was October 13th. That's, by the timing of our God and affordable housing, that we are now living in a house for the next 5 years. Paying a mortgage that we can afford, working 48 hours a week, and my husband driving long distance, 4,000 miles a week. I don't know what else to say except that we need to keep this law going. There's no way that they can stop this law for middle-class working people who want to raise a family and keep a good life. I urge you, for the future of the families that are yet to come, to keep this law going. Please vote no on repealing the law in November. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Robin?
Good morning. My name is Robin Dapolito, and I'm a social worker for the Riviera Housing Authority. I'm also a single mother of 2. Whether it's working for the Saugus Public School System or the Housing Authority, I've dedicated my life to serving the community. I've educated myself. I have a bachelor's degree from Suffolk University, a master's degree in education, I'm a licensed social worker, and also have a degree as a licensed guidance counselor. Unfortunately, our society doesn't value those traits, and finding a great job in social work would never allow me the opportunity to buy my own home. With the affordable housing law, I was able to find a respectable place for my family to call home. We can't let this law be taken away. The middle class need it. Without affordable housing, seniors and the middle working class people would not be able to find an affordable place to live. So again, I'm urging you also to vote no and repealing this law in November.